Alright, I hope everyone had a happy Halloween. I sure did, even though I didn't spend it doing anything related to the holiday. But today, I bring you yet another battery-powered fluorescent lantern. And I'm gonna have to make a video explaining all this sudden change in video style lately. The computer videos haven't been completely abolished. I'm just taking a break from them for now. But today, I bring you an Energizer model FL450 folding twin tube battery powered fluorescent lantern. And this was made in July of 2000. The date of manufacture is stamped on the back of the unit. Now this lantern comes with a rather interesting story attached to it. I found this thing in the local surplus and salvage store. Now I mentioned this store in quite a few of my videos, but I've never really explained what it is. What this store does is it takes goods from other stores that have gone out of business and sells them at a reduced price. So you can find literally everything in there. So I was going through that store and I came across a cluster of camping lanterns. None like this though. Most of the ones I saw were like that one down there. And I almost missed it, and I'm glad I didn't. I almost missed this thing, which was sitting at the back of a top shelf. And I just barely saw a hint of green with a yellow handle. And I picked it up and I'm like, whoa, it's one of these. Because I've always wanted one of these lanterns. I've never actively looked into getting one because they're not particularly special. They're still very common to find, even new. But I picked this thing up and I looked at it and it's like, wow, this thing, you can see here, this thing is really beat up. It has a lot of scratches on it. It was filthy when I found it. I've cleaned it up now, but it had a lot of scratches on it. And I opened it up. I'll open it up for you right now. It opens up like this and it can stand up like that. Not on my soft bed, but on a hard floor it can stand up. And you can put it up just like that so it shines 360 degrees. And it felt kind of heavy to me, so I opened it up and opened up the battery compartment, which I'll do later, and it had very old leaking batteries in it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, this store, as far as I know, has never sold used stuff. But here was this lantern all beat up with very old leaking batteries in it, and they leaked bad. I'll show you the battery compartment a little bit later. But what angered me about this was that as horrible of a condition as this lantern was in, it had a price tag on it of $30. That's more than what these things cost new. You could buy these things for anywhere from $12 to $15 back in the early 2000s. Back when Eveready quit making them, around the mid-2000s, you could buy these for as little as $5. And they dare take this thing in awful shape with old leaking batteries in it and put a $30 price tag on it? I didn't think so. So I thought I'd humor myself and pull what I call a UXW bill. There was a woman behind me putting some stuff on another shelf, and I took this over to her and I said, I'm looking at this thing and it's pretty beat up and it's got really old batteries in it, yet you've got a $30 price tag on it. And she's like, well, I'll be right back. So she took this thing and she walked away, and a couple of minutes later she came back and it had a price tag on it of $8. So that was it, and I'm like, oh, cool, can't believe that works. So I bit the bullet and I bought this thing for $8. Not really, I don't really think it was worth that price, and I'll explain why later. Not just where it's slightly beat up, but there's something else that's wrong with it, even though I have fixed it now so that it works perfectly. So I don't really think it was worth $8, but it's less than what I would have paid for one of these even used on eBay. So I said, what the hey, if the fluorescent tubes are good, even them would be worth the $8, because they're about $3.50 a piece in Walmart or whatever. So I bought it. So as you can see here, it's got a handle that swivels like that. It's got a switch on it so you can turn on one or both of the tubes. old Energizer logo there too. It says patent pending, made in China. It takes two 4-watt fluorescent tubes. The particular tubes in it are both F450Ds. So daylight tubes, they're the tubes that emit the bluish color that is similar to what sunlight puts out. And you can see the tubes are very black on one end, but not black at all on the other end. So this lantern must run the tubes using DC current. So that's pretty cool. So once this end becomes so black that the tubes won't start anymore, I can just flip the tubes over and then they'll run again. So I already showed you that it takes quite a bit of force to open it. There. It flips up like that, and there's enough weight with the batteries in it that you can even keep it like this and it won't fall over, or you can put it up like this. Now the battery compartment, you have two turn screws here, and I can actually get them with my thumb, and then this panel just flips up. Well, theoretically it does. There it is. Takes 4D batteries. The battery compartment in this thing was absolutely awful. It had 4 Duracell batteries in it, and they had expired in 2008. And there was a ton of dry battery acid in them, and one of the batteries had leaked quite a bit of liquid battery acid. So there was some liquid acid in here too. And I'll get my flashlight here. You might be able to tell the battery terminals in here are terrible. They're completely intact, but they're so corroded. And when I first put batteries in this thing, it didn't turn on. And I took my multimeter to each set of terminals to test their continuity. And this terminal right here has absolutely no continuity. It is corroded so badly that the electricity cannot be transferred from here to over here. And so the lantern didn't turn on the first time I tried it. And I'm like, oh crap. But I found that there was no continuity here. There was continuity everywhere else, so I had hope. I took a paper clip and I bent it over like this and slipped it over that set of terminals there. So now the paper clip is acting as the battery terminal, and it works absolutely fine. So there's I love these circular things here. That you can find on a lot of products. Year 2000 and the month of July. And that's when this thing was made. So this thing was made right after the Ralston Purina company, which owned the Eveready battery company, had spun off Eveready, and the name of the company became Energizer Holdings. So I'll put the batteries in it. I believe Energizer started making these things in, I think, around 1996, and they continued making this lantern until I think 2002 or 2003. I'll put annotations at the bottom of the screen if I find that's wrong. And then after they quit making this lantern, they started making an updated version of it, which was basically the same, except it was a bit curvier. It was a darker green in color. This is kind of a hunter green. The newer one's almost black. And it has a little orange LED nightlight. YouTube user Lachlan T 1984 owns that newer version of this lantern. So we'll put the battery cover back on. So yeah, 4D batteries to run 2 4-watt tubes. Not so keen on the number of batteries. And now I can't get that close, so I need a dime. Not too keen about the number of batteries to the number of watts ratio. 6 volts to run 8 watts, but the fact that they're D batteries makes that quite a bit better. But it doesn't really matter anyway, because this thing actually works really, really well. This lantern, as well as its successor, are advertised as having 40 hours of battery life when you use one tube, and 20 hours of battery life when using both tubes. What I found with this lantern is that the tubes don't start particularly fast like the Rayovac Magnum, but they do start very reliably. And I'll turn it on right now. There. About a 1 second startup time for the left tube here, about 2 seconds for the right tube. And this thing is actually really bright. I'll turn the lights out in a second so you can see how bright it is, but even with one tube, it is, I think, a little bit brighter than the Rayovac Magnum. But I did some current measurements with my multimeter, and based on the readings I found, this thing powers each 4-watt tube with about 3.5 about 3 to 3.5 watts of power. So the tubes are a little bit underdriven, but not so underdriven as I found in my other battery-powered lamps. So turn on again. Yeah, the tubes don't start particularly fast, but they always do start. And that's a good thing. So we'll turn the lights out and I'll show you how bright this thing is. Alright, so first we'll turn it on with one tube. And I don't think my camera's focusing very well. But now we'll try it with 2 tubes. Pretty good. I think this is slightly brighter than the Rayovac Magnum. So what I'm going to do is, I'll do a comparison right now. So I'll find the Rayovac here. Oops, and turn it on. And I have slightly low batteries in the Rayovac. So I might try this again once I get some better batteries in the Rayovac, because the good batteries are in the new Energizer lantern, of course, right now. But here's the Rayovac. Here's the Energizer on one tube, and yeah, I think it actually is a little bit brighter, which kind of surprises me, because I can only assume that since the Rayovac is able to start instantly, that it drives the bulb at the correct wattage, but well, maybe not. Or maybe it's just because the bulb's old, I don't know, but there's one tube with the Energizer, and here's the Rayovac. Yeah, I think the Energizer is brighter. And of course with 2 tubes, it's definitely brighter. So yeah, very good light output. It's better than what I expected. Because this is running 2 4-watt bulbs on 6 volts. And my other generic light that runs 2 4-watt bulbs at 6 volts, the light output of it has no comparison to this. This is so much better. So I guess better engineering on Eveready's part. And the bulb color, for daylight bulbs, the bulb color is very good too. Because I have a generic daylight bulb, which I think is a lot bluer. I think the color rendering really sucks on it. So what I'll do right now is I'll put that generic daylight bulb in this lamp beside one of these 2, what I think are better daylight bulbs, and see how the color compares. And these bulbs have no manufacturer on them, but based on the font of the lettering on them, I would be inclined to believe that they are General Electric bulbs, because General Electric uses this font on the bulbs that they brand as satellite bulbs. And if you didn't know, yes, apparently satellite fluorescent bulbs are made by General Electric. So I'll stick that other generic daylight bulb in here, and we'll see how they compare. So here's the generic brand, F450 I was talking about. This came in that yellow twin tube generic lantern that I mentioned earlier in the video. And that kind of looks like the Westinghouse logo. Westinghouse makes really good fluorescent bulbs, but the Westinghouse logo is a more stylized W, so I don't think that's the actual Westinghouse logo. But it could fool someone, I guess. So to replace the tubes in this is actually quite interesting. I've never seen a fluorescent light that had tube replacement like this before. There's a turn screw right here, that you unscrew just like that, and you just lift the bulbs out. That's it. There's no turning of the bulbs or anything. You just literally drop it in, and you screw that back on. It's just down here, it's just a spring-loaded metal pad that presses up against the bulb. So here's the supposedly, I assume, General Electric F450, and here's the crappy generic one, and we'll put it in there, and I'll screw it back in, and then we'll see how they compare. Okay, so the crappy F450's on the right here, so we'll turn it on to both tubes, and yeah, the crappy F450 is definitely bluer than the GE F450. As a matter of fact, when I look at these bulbs beside each other, I would think that this is an F450CW. That's how much color difference there is. This is definitely a purer white, and this just looks kind of like a glorified type of sky blue or something. And this bulb, you can probably tell, is definitely a lot dimmer. But yeah. And this bulb's black at both ends. So yeah, I guess there's your comparison of a generic daylight bulb against a higher quality daylight bulb in both brightness and color temperature. Generic one seems to start better though. A little bit faster. Well, that's pretty much all there is to show about this Energizer model FL450 battery-powered folding twin-tube fluorescent lantern. Definitely a weird story. I still can't believe they put a $30 tag on this, given that it's been clearly used, and they probably didn't know it had old leaky batteries in it, but even as scratched up as it is, definitely not cool on their part. But yeah, I think this is a pretty cool lantern. I guess I've been having some really weird luck lately. All my life I've owned generic brand crappy, you know, battery-powered fluorescent lights that don't work very well. But all of a sudden, I'm getting all these high-quality lights like this one and the Rayovac Magnum, but they're all banged up and everything. I find it kind of funny. You can find these and the newer version with the LED nightlight, the FL450 BP, pretty commonly, and the BP model, the newer model, you can still find new in the package on eBay and stuff, and they still seem to catch quite a price. The new ones will go for as much as $30 or $40. But yeah, this gets a thumbs up for me. For a modern unit, it seems to be extremely high quality, both in the electronics and in the build quality. So yeah, I'm glad I got this. So there you go.